we are able to be incredibly cooperative at very large scales, and we are able to make these non-zero arrangements between ourselves to benefit both parties, then how do we go back to solving something like the global warming problem, right? So here is an example of the ecological footprint versus human development index, which basically includes the life expectancy, education, women's health, children's health, and so on. And you can see that a lot of the rich, almost all of the rich countries have gotten a high human development index by having a very high ecological footprint. Cuba is the only one that meets the criteria for sustainability, but I'm not sure we want to make the whole world look like Cuba. Nonetheless, the question is, these poor countries, if they have to move up here, do they have to go this way and come this way, or is there a way to move this way? What does this, are these countries ever going to move here? How will we do that? How would you make IPCC negotiations or whatever other framework you have to move everybody here and move them here? That's not very easy. That's what you want your physical climate models, the APB models, and cognitive models to work together to find the solutions in terms of policies, usage of common resources, and so on, to get here without going too far out here. Okay? That's kind of the challenge you have to face. So, going back to the elephant, as I said, you have to find a way, whatever you're trying to communicate, you have to motivate the rider, and you have to kind of shape the path for the elephant to move in the right direction. And if you try to cheat the elephant, this is what happens. So here's the elephant walking, there's a car coming the other way and trying to pass the elephant. The elephant doesn't like it, and this is what happens. So you have to be careful, because this is important, because if you keep preaching gloom and doom in the name of climate change, then human willpower is it's an exhaustible resource. People just have fatigue after a while, they'll stop listening to you. So the message has to be positive. And I will show, I've included a long list of links which give you a vision of the future. What the future would look like if we did the right thing. Instead of saying everything will go to hell if we do this, how about we say, if we do the right thing, this is what we can look forward to. So you can look up those websites. But you should also be careful that some politicians, especially, and even some scientists, fake the elephant. They look in your eyes and say, I understand your pain. But sometimes it's not a real elephant. It's a fake elephant. You have to be careful with that. So, the message I would like to give, maybe I will leave a few minutes for Barish, but I will show a couple more things. You getting anxious? So, tragedy of the commons is not at all necessary. I think if we do the right thing, use your APD model correctly and produce good solutions, we can avoid the tragedy of the commons. And Earth is like a spaceship, right? We're hurtling around in space, and it's like an airplane. Rich countries cannot, even though there will be some winners and losers, actually you cannot protect yourself forever if you create disaster in one place. Whether it's environmental migration or disease or whatever it is. So it's like an airplane. If it crashes, the first class is not going to be any safer than economy. Probably everybody will get hurt, right? So we have to really think like that. Plus, if you think of it like an insurance, if you do energy independence, rainforest sustainability, and so on, we don't just really need a reason to do that. Biodiversity is beautiful. We should preserve it because it's beautiful. That's what our intrinsic value would say. So, what if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? Is that really going to be a problem? Probably not, right? So, act as if you are here to stay and be good to the earth. These are the websites. As Buckminster Fuller said, we're called to be architects of the future, not its victims. So the future is actually in our hands. We can create a good future. And you can look up these websites. There are giving you a vision for the future. There's a bunch of them. There are some inspirational ones. There are some that are focused on solutions and so on. And this is actually not I'll just kind of show you the. This is some work from Herman Davey. You should read that. It's really nice stuff. Some game changer will come along, depending on, if you're looking for renewable energy, for example, if you follow the research that's going on in improving solar cells, for example, within a millimeter, they're able to now produce energy at 40–50%. If you think of plants, they're harvesting light at 2% efficiency, and everything on Earth, all life on Earth, depends essentially on this solar energy that's being captured by the plants at 2% efficiency. So it's not really energy limitation if we know how to create it from this energy that's coming in all the time on Earth. So some game changer might come along, and this is the example of telegraphy and how after it was invented, it has affected so many things in terms of new invention. So that's one of the visions for the future. But in terms of the elephant and the rider, I put a few slides in the back that you can look at. The rider loves to contemplate, analyze, and doing so has a negative bias, almost always focusing on problems rather than solutions. I would argue that this is what the scientists are doing. They are not giving people solutions. If you keep telling everybody that you are screwed, and when they ask, what can I do to get unscrewed, and you have no good answer other than change your light bulb, then you're not doing a good job of communicating. Right? That's the rational mind, that's the neocortex, that's the high thinking. The elephant is easily spooked and hates doing things with no immediate benefits. It's stubborn, needs reassurance, and is quickly demoralized. So the few who have grad students, you know what that means. Right? But it's powerful, tireless, and difficult to actively direct. Exactly like a grad student. You get them drinking and they will never stop. So anyway, I think that's the message I wanted to give. I wanted to leave some time for questions. If you want to make Radish nervous, keep asking questions for 10 minutes. Yes?
I have a question for that. All this problem we talked about is about the define the humans' psychological inertia, something like that. Do not make change, but in the end of the world about the economics, even the people are variational. There's still a balance of the costs to change and the sacrifice of continue doing this. It's like game theory. If usually the situation is that if the cost of change is much higher, then we continue doing this. The loss of oil gas continue doing this. Then the people are still going to continue but not change. So this is usually the economics. People describe all these actions people that we don't change. In some cases, for the students when doing the examinations, they don't review too much, but until the very end of the examination, they focus on themselves. So, what do you think of this theory?
Yeah, I mean, are you an economist?
No.
Okay. And the old joke is that God made economists to make the meteorologists look better. You shouldn't never be an economist. But
it's lawyers, no?
Huh?
It's about lawyers, no?
God made lawyers to make the economies look better. But that's what I said about the risk perception in the beginning. The mind is always weighing cost, but this can be affected by the mental model you have, right? You may have never met me, but you may have heard from somebody that I'm not a nice guy. So your interaction with me may be affected by what created a mental model based on information that's secondhand or maybe wrong. So the cost in this case is, let's say, global warming. If we don't say what is the benefit for the future, then that's why I'm saying give a vision for the future. So the cost is not a monolithic thing, it's not a fixed thing, it's relative, right? So every mind is perceiving risk, but this risk depends on the mental model they have created. And all the climate contrarians have used this to create myths about climate always changes, this is nothing new, so we shouldn't worry. And then the scientist responds by saying, no, you have to worry, the world will come to an end. I'm saying most people have intrinsic value that can be reached if you give them a cost-benefit analysis and tell them that the cost of change is not big in this case. Literally, like saying you can create a better world, or create this cartoon. It really, so we can do these things without actually damaging the economy or getting poor. The myth is that doing these will somehow crash the economy. But somebody will come along. If you look at the prices in auto industry in the US, Japan did not face this crisis. They had hybrids, everything going. They were doing just fine. US industry had ignored these technologies, and now they are trying to get into it. So they created a mental model for themselves that this technology is not ready or whatever. So the cost is not something that is absolute and deterministic. It can change depending on. Right now, fossil fuel is expensive, is cheap. This is why renewable energy is not being developed. But if you exhaust fossil fuels, then human mind will try to do something. That's yeah.
Are you sure about this is a common perception? I mean,
This one, this is a joke.
yeah, I know, but the bottom line of the joke is that everyone thinks that if the world is, I don't know, if we keep the ecosystem flourishing, they see a benefit from it. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's a cause that everyone are willing to see as not legitimate, but something they want. Because if you look at it,
You are saying not everybody thinks it's a hoax.
not to the level that they will put any effort into it, really.
So people don't want to do this.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I think that's the.
But this is your
intrinsic.
This is exactly my point. You have a mental model which is not based on enough data, right? So I'm saying, how do we get beyond this mental model? You are thinking, this is called dispositional and contextual behavior. When you're speeding, if somebody speeds next to you, they're going faster than you, you think, oh, people are so stupid. Whereas I'm speeding because I've been late for a meeting or whatever. You think your behavior is disposition, it's contextual, so you are doing wrong things only because it's necessary, but other people do wrong things because that's just the way they are. Right? That's what you're saying. But I'm saying that's not the case. Behavior can be very contextual, and you can reach with proper communication the intrinsic values. And I'm not saying exactly how to do it, but it can start with the kids. Why are kids not taught to just appreciate biodiversity? Right? So I'm saying human mind has the ability to do it. It's up to us how to do it. So I'm not convinced that everybody is out to get the planet. Nobody's anything. Yeah. Right? So when we were hunter-gatherers, we had a very small environmental footprint. And as soon as agriculture became domesticated, we became a sedentary society. Even fertility rates went up because the child care became better. Communities got bigger and bigger, and environmental footprint got bigger and bigger. And now you are far removed from where the food production happens. You're sitting in your office and running ABB models, and the farmer is producing the food. You have no concept of what climate change can do to this product, food production. So this disconnect is often IMBER Nordhaus or whatever. There's a German sociologist, and there is some medical evidence for this, that the dopamine levels in human beings have continuously increased, so have become more and more reward-seeking species. Our behavior is very driven by this dopaminergic, and it affects cultural behavior. And French social scientist called Emile Durkheim called it ennui. How do you say it? Okay, so I don't think it's a fixed thing. It's good. You have to focus on the positive. We are a species not because of the difference. We are a species because of common character.
I think one of the problems with dealing with communicating climate science is that is the spatial and temporal scales of this problem. Most people